Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Liong Mah small field duty with the crossbar lock. This is the first time that a Liong Mah design has ever had a crossbar lock. It's a crossbar lock. It's not like a new or a different crossbar lock. It's just the first time that he has done it. And really, it's, to the best of my knowledge, this is still OEM'd by Riot. So it's a Riot crossbar lock, and Riot has done crossbar locks before. I've tested them. They're really good. So this is a Riot crossbar lock, and it feels really, really nice. I think actually Riot has one of the nicest ones out there. So combining this with a bunch of elements that just make for a really, really good EDC knife, I've had a really positive experience with this. This is currently in Kickstarter, so there's still early bird pricing. We're going to go over that pricing and what I think about it, but I'll have this linked right down in the description for you guys to check out if you want to. Thanks so much to Liong Mah for sending this knife in for review. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me, and make sure your notifications are turned on for the Metal Complex YouTube channel. Let's go ahead and measure this knife. Overall length is coming in at 7 inches by my measurement. Blade length is coming in at 3. Cutting edge is about 2. It's a hair over 2.5, something like that. Let's do some size comparisons. Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and Others. So up against my own Excalibur, full size and compact. My compact is still about ½ an inch longer, but let me show you these ergonomic lines. The Liong Mah small field duty, actually I really like the field duty as well, but the small field duty is has lines that are extremely preferable. This knife fits within certain parameters that I use to kind of determine which knives I'm really going to be carrying long term. Sometimes I'll throw knives in my pocket that don't make any sense just because I like them, but when it comes to the knives that I keep putting back in my pocket over and over and over and over again, certain knives right around this size with this blade length, these ergonomic lines, these are the ones that end up in my pocket. And you can see that in like the Para 3, the Shark Cub, the Demko 80-20.5, which is also a Shark Lock knife. Did I say the Para 3? Sage 6, all of those, we're going to look at them here. But anyways, let's put it up against the PM2 and Para 3 and do that one real quick. That PM2, I swear to God, there it is. PM2 and Para 3. Para 3 coming in maybe a ½ inch longer, but once again, look at those lines. Really, that ½ inch is almost meaningless because it's back end here, right? This is very similar in the setup to the Spyderco Para 3. Very, very preferable. And then I'm going to do some different ones here. Demko 80-20.5. And let's do like the Sage 6. This is also a knife that ends up in my pocket a lot, and you can see exactly why. I don't know where my Shark Cub is. It is currently lost. I've been looking for it. I'm sure it'll turn back up. No big deal. But yeah, a very good size. Let's talk about action. How's the action? Well, it runs on bearings, and this has probably one of the smoothest crossbar locks. We have the right amount of tension. The crossbar lock does not feel floppy. We have these domed tops to the crossbar lock that are just really nice to interact with. They actually have some texturing to them. It just makes it perfect for manipulation. So I tried to like whip it out, which you can do, by the way. But it's perfect for manipulation because my fingers don't slide off of it, and it's also not like an irritating thing to interact with. It's just perfect. The crossbar lock stays, you know, level. It doesn't flop around or anything like that. Thumb studs, very easy to deploy it with the thumb studs. You can use the fuller if you want to, but I find it easier to reverse flick it with the thumb stud. This is about as easy to manipulate as you could ask for a crossbar lock, and it's just big enough that it doesn't feel awkward to manipulate. I'm not really having to adjust it much in my hand before I deploy it or disengage the locking system, which is sometimes a problem for me with smaller knives. Obviously, it has to do with your hand size, but really small knives are not necessarily my favorite thing to manipulate. This knife is compact, but it doesn't feel small and dainty or too short. So honestly, really easy to manipulate. I like it. I have no issues with the action. Let's go ahead and do thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. You can see here it's actually a little bit thinner, but also contoured, which is nice. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. This is a beautifully compact object. It is very, very easy to carry. Not going to take up too much room. And you do have some options for other materials here, which I should have had these out, but I'm going to let you guys take a look. You probably saw them in the unboxing. We also have, of course, the carbon fiber. These will have different pricing associated with them. You guys can go and check them out. I'm going to give you guys pricing for the titanium one today, but they're all on there. And then, of course, we have the Ultim as well. We will weigh all of these. But anyways, your balance is going to be a little bit different between each of these. Balance for the carbon fiber right behind the pivot, probably the same with the PEI/Ultim. Yeah, about the same. Your titanium's probably going to be a little bit more butt heavy. Not much, though. Not much. It's honestly pretty good. The balance between all three is actually pretty awesome. I'll give you guys a good look at all three of them there so that you can get an idea of what they might look like in person. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about materials here. So we already saw the handle materials, titanium, carbon fiber, and PEI. We also have MagnaCut. I have absolutely no idea what Riot heat treats their MagnaCut to. If you ask Google, the little AI assistant says 60 to 63, which could be accurate, but I don't necessarily trust it. I think it might be generalizing and pulling from sources that are not necessarily accurate. I'll wait until Taylor, who will probably be down in the comments, has some actual data on it. The Edge didn't fatigue or act in a way that would suggest that the MagnaCut was heat treated super duper low. A lot of companies are still hitting MagnaCut like sub 62, which in my opinion is wrong. The range for MagnaCut should be 62 to 64, and we have like a bajillion companies proving that it's pretty easy to do. I would hope that Riot would hit it there, but I know that Riot, for example, sometimes hits their M390 incredibly low. So I don't think that it's, like they're not capable of it. I think they just, sometimes they hit certain steels a little low, but I don't actually have any data on Riot's MagnaCut. So until we can get an official number there, I don't really have any info for you, but it didn't act funny. It didn't act like it was, super soft or anything like that. I've not really experienced a whole lot of MagnaCut from Riot. But anyways, MagnaCut, we've got titanium, we've got some steel components, the wire clip is steel, and we have a titanium backspacer. Let's go ahead and weigh it here. Oh man, my shop vac exploded in here and blew dust all over the place, and I just realized it's still all over the scale. There we go. So the titanium one's the heaviest at 3.4 ounces, which is really not all that bad. The carbon fiber one is only 2.4 ounces. Incredible. And then finally the PEI is also going to be, it's like a 0.1 ounces heavier. Sorry, I hit the camera there. So super lightweight on those other two versions, but if you're looking for balance and lightweight, you even get it with the titanium one. 3.5 ounces and your balance point is right here. It's pretty good. This is the one that I've been carrying and enjoying the most. So yeah, but anyways, let's go and do a hardware check. I'll get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. Something that's nice about this crossbar lock, what is this? This is a T10, my God, is the lack of unnecessary hardware that is usually associated with a crossbar lock. It's just not the case. It's not here, which is nice. Everything is a part of one big steel liner that is also the housing for the crossbar lock. So, for example, we do not have a screw in the middle or down here, or we don't have a bunch of unnecessary ones across the back. No, we have a T8 pivot, and then we have the body/pocket clip screw over here, and then one over here. That's it. The crossbar lock is still going to be kind of a pain in the butt to take apart and put back together because that's the nature of a crossbar lock. But getting to the internals is actually very simple. This is probably one of the simplest crossbar locks I've ever seen in terms of the hardware and just, what you've got to remove to actually get to it. It's incredibly simple. It's really nice, and it's amazing to me that we don't have more companies building their crossbar lock knives this way. Now, in general, you guys are probably waiting, like, is he going to complain about the crossbar lock? Yeah, crossbar locks, in my opinion, are fine. They're a super strong locking system. Their weakness is omega springs, because omega springs are just inherently kind of like a weaker option versus a lot of other, any type of locking system that uses a coil spring, for example, is going to be a superior locking system when it comes to longevity. Obviously, the lockup and all of that depends on the lock and the geometry, but when it comes to spring life, a coil spring is going to be better. The coil spring implementation when we're talking about crossbar locks is absolutely possible, and we have many models out there that have proven this. A lot of people talk about ratios between the blade and handle not being as good because there's not as much room to put a coil spring in there, and that can sometimes be true, but I always point to the Benchmade Anthem, which is one of the most impressive builds I've ever seen, given that it's not only a crossbar lock with a coil spring, it's a crossbar lock with a coil spring that has been implemented in an integral titanium knife where the body and blade are actually a pretty good ratio, right? So that knife exists, and I always point to it saying they did it. So it is absolutely possible. It's just that depending on the design, you might have to kind of finagle and work around a little bit. But crossbar locks with omega springs will remain to be probably a cheaper and easier option. It's just that, I think that there is a better future possible for crossbar lock knives. I don't think the crossbar lock itself should go away. I just think, there's probably other ways to do it. But it's fine. The way that this is fine. Riot crossbar locks, I don't think I've necessarily heard that, these things are breaking or that the omega springs that Riot is using are, bad. Obviously, people tend to speak up more when something bad happens, and I have heard plenty of stories of crossbar locks breaking, but admittedly not very many stories about Riot crossbar locks breaking. It could be because the crossbar lock from Riot is still very, very new, so kind of up in the air, but this feels pretty good to me. Anyways, T8 crossbar lock, T8 across the board for disassembly. We've gone over materials, we've gone over weight. Have we done the blade stock thickness? I don't think so. Let's go ahead and do that. Blade stock thickness on this guy is coming in at 123 thousandths. On the thinner side. Okay, meat and potatoes time. This is a profile that I have seen before. At the same time, it is very Liong Mah. If you look back at Liong Mah's models, there is sort of there's kind of an essence, there's kind of a specific aesthetic that goes along with a lot of his knives, and this one is well within, those parameters there. I don't know that if this was sitting here without his logo amidst a bunch of other knives that I'd immediately be able to point out that it was a Liong Mah, but, with this logo on there, it's like, it does kind of, bear resemblance to his other models. And that's fine. This is a straightforward utilitarian build. Again, not a build that we've never seen before, but, a variation of that. Ergonomically, it feels great. The standard grip's okay. I can kind of feel that wire clip there. Choked up grip is absolutely excellent. This knife has beautiful ergonomics. Liong Mah actually made sure that we had enough room in that forward choil for some bigger fingers, right? So if you've got bigger, meatier fingers, you don't have a flipper tab in the way, you can choke back a little bit, you can get your, the back end of your index finger in there and really grip down. It feels awesome. The thumb stud is completely and totally out of the cutting path, and this sort of spade-shaped drop point blade is really nice. I love the subtle swedge up here. That looks really good. Nice flat. Riot does a good job with their satin finishes. Really enjoy that. We have the Liong Mah logo right there. And then on the other side, it says MagnaCut. Other than that, though, pretty straightforward. Your jimping does extend out to about the length, the end of the fuller here, which, by the way, does look nice. The jimping is absolutely functional. Not the craziest, most aggressive, but also not, the most slippery and useless, like on the Les George VECP. I don't know why. The jimping on that knife is basically completely useless. But with this geometry, and especially down, the cutting edge is nice and thin. It feels really, really good. I'll let you guys take a look at that plunge grind there. But a really straightforward utilitarian blade. Again, I'm not trying to say like, oh my gosh, I've never seen a blade shaped like this. I've never seen a thin drop point blade that's got kind of a wider tip made out of MagnaCut. No, obviously I have. But this blade works really, really well. It's a great example of extremely versatile, extreme versatility combining the blade shape, blade geometry, and blade steel. Assuming that Riot actually heat treats the MagnaCut correctly, this will be a phenomenal sort of all-purpose light to medium duty blade shape. Absolutely. No complaints there. It is wonderful. Backspacer, I appreciate the additional detail there, just not leaving it completely and totally flat. I've seen way too much of that, and it is just super boring. I understand beauty's in the eye of the beholder, but I feel like, I'm going to highlight the people who do something a little bit extra with the backspacer, even when it's just something simple like this, right? It's just essentially nothing, but I think it looks good. Little fuller there. We got the little lanyard loop. Pocket clip, yeah, it is a wire clip, and, probably should have done some type of milled clip. This is also a wire clip that has a bill at the end, so if it gets caught on something, it's going to bend out. I would have loved that they just left it here, but okay. It also, because it's a wire clip, does not create any ergonomic hot spots. It's just the nature of the wire clip, given that the little bars are kind of are radius or like tube shaped or whatever, right? You can flip it over to the other side, as should be the case with every crossbar lock, because it is ambidextrous, so that's nice. Lefties, you'll be able to enjoy this. This side looks exactly the same as the front. I would have liked for an option on the titanium one to have an inlay. That would have been really cool, or like an area with some texturing. I think that would have been neat just to have one more option with the titanium. For people who like smooth, great, but for people who want titanium that's textured or with an inlay, I think that would have been really nice. But as far as I know, this is the only option. There is shouldering right here, and it comes back and contacts the stop pin in its traditional position. Your closed position, stop pin is of course the crossbar lock, which folds nicely in there, nowhere near, you can see right there, that's actually the latch there, nowhere near the plunge lock, so we don't have to worry about that at all. There is no blade play up, down, left, or right. There is no lock stick, not a hint of lock stick. There's no pivot lash. Very smooth and consistent in here, which, by the way, we didn't really show that. Super duper smooth. And snap down into the closed position with, I think this might be, no, it looks pretty darn good. That's pretty darn centered. I'd say, I don't know, I'm gonna call that centered, guys. All right, meat and potatoes time. Carbon fiber and PEI slightly less, but let's take a look at the titanium pricing. As of right now, I think the super duper early bird whatever is over, so like the best price you can get as of this exact moment that I'm recording it, maybe when you're seeing this will be a little bit different, is about $248, which isn't bad considering what we've got going on here. These are of course made in China, but made by Riyadh, and Riyadh is a top tier Chinese OEM, one of the best on earth. The final bird, the last bird, the slow bird, the old bird, or whatever you want to call it, the price that everybody will be subject to once the Kickstarter's over is $278. Is that a bad price? No. Is it an incredible price? No. It's okay. This is, in my opinion, roughly a $250 pocket knife. It is made by Riyadh. It's got some nice additional touches. It's lacking a milled pocket clip. Assuming they do their magna cut correctly, really, really good, right? The design is wonderful. This is a Liong Mah design. Liong Mah knows how to design a knife. I've been reviewing knives that have been designed by Liong Mah for years and years and years. He clearly knows what he's doing, right? But yeah, this is a great knife. It is definitely a profile that has been done before in some other variation, right? Some subtle variation, but this is a good profile. It's a good knife. It's made well, right? I wish we knew exactly how the magna cut was heat treated, and I wish we had a milled pocket clip. But $250 would have been perfect. $278 is a little higher, but I'm not upset about it. It's not like, oh my God, this is horrendous. No, not at all. It's just a little higher than I think, I would have expected it to be. But yeah, I think overall, this is a pretty recommendable product. If you can choke down the extra $25 there in the price tag from where I would like it to be. But yeah, generally speaking, recommendable product. I think if you pick this up, you're going to be really, really happy with it. And again, you can get a little bit of a discount picking up one of the carbon fiber or PEI variations as well. So that's going to be it today, guys. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.